Okay, imagine this. You wake up, check the news, and there's this headline that just sounds, well, completely wild.
Uh-huh.
Former president of the United States publicly threatening to deport, like, one of the most famous tech billionaires on the planet.
Yeah, that definitely catches your eye. It sounds almost like satire.
Exactly. It just stops you. So,
Oh,
welcome to the deep dive. We're the folks who try to cut through that kind of noise.
get to what's actually going on underneath.
And today we are plunging headfirst into that headline. This whole extraordinary feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Specifically focusing on that statement, right? July 1st, 2025.
Yeah, where Trump said his administration would, quote, have to take a look at deporting Musk.
Right. So our mission for you today, listening in, is basically a shortcut. We want you to be properly informed on this.
Without wading through everything yourself.
Exactly. We've dug through a whole stack of reports, legal analyses, news clips, The Verge, New York Post, Axios, Vanity Fair.
Good source.
Yeah, reliable stuff. And we're pulling out the key bits, the full context, the stark legal facts, and what this clash could actually mean down the line.
Okay, so let's set the stage. What actually sparked this specific blowup? It didn't just happen in a vacuum, right?
No, definitely not. It seems to boil down to a clash over a few things. Government money, EV policies.
Electric vehicles, yeah.
And this big new budget law Trump's proposed. He calls it the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay, the One Big Beautiful Bill. What's in it that caused the friction?
Well, the key parts for this story are its plans to basically eliminate federal EV subsidies.
Ah, okay. That would hit Musk directly.
Big time. And also trim Department of Energy grants while boosting investment in fossil fuels.
Right. So completely opposite to the direction Musk's companies are generally heading.
Precisely. And Musk, well, he wasn't quiet about it. He was very vocal, very critical.
He was. I remember seeing those posts thinking, okay, here we go. Round 2 or maybe round 20 in the billionaire versus politician thing.
Yeah, something like that. So Musk basically accused the administration of, hurting American innovation, setting back green energy.
And that clearly hit a nerve with Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Trump fired back fast,
Huh?
questioned Musk's loyalty, pointed out the, billions in government support his companies have received.
Tesla, SpaceX, yeah. Lots of federal contracts and subsidies over the years.
Exactly. And that's when the idea, the public suggestion of deporting Musk first came up.
Just thrown out there like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And what's interesting right after is Musk's response on X, Twitter as it used to be.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
He posted something like, so tempting to escalate this. So tempting, but I will refrain for now.
Cryptic. Like he's holding something back, maybe? Or just choosing his battles.
Could be either. Leaves you wondering.
But it brings us to the huge question, the one I think everyone asks immediately. I know I did. We're talking about Elon Musk. He's an American citizen. So can a U.S. citizen actually be deported? Is that even a thing? Or is this just, political rhetoric?
That really is the absolute core legal point here. Musk became a U.S. citizen through naturalization back in 2002.
Okay, so not born here, but went through the process.
Correct. And yeah, he also has South African and Canadian citizenship. But for legal protections here, in the U.S., his American citizenship is what matters most.
And the law says?
The fundamental legal principle is crystal clear. U.S. citizens cannot normally be deported, period.
Okay.
Deportation is a legal process, but it applies only to non-citizens. People on visas, green card holders, undocumented immigrants, not citizens.
So no loophole, no unless. Is there absolutely no way?
Well, there's one pathway. It's called denaturalization. But, and this is a huge but, it's extremely rare. Incredibly complex.
Denaturalization, so taking the citizenship away.
Exactly. And the bar for that is incredibly high. You need clear, convincing proof of fraud or lying during the original naturalization process.
So if he'd lied on his application back in 2002?
Potentially, yes, if it was serious and proven. Or the other grounds are convictions for really serious crimes like terrorism or treason.
Okay. Fraud during the process or major crimes like treason.
Yeah.
And just so we're absolutely clear for everyone listening, do any of those apply here? Fraud, terrorism, treason, any allegations even?
No, absolutely not. Neither condition applies. And nobody's even suggesting they do.
Right.
Which is why legal experts, constitutional scholars, pretty much everyone who knows the law, they've all said Trump's threat has zero legal basis.
Zero.
Zero. They say the courts would block it instantly. Unanimous.
Docked instantly and unanimously. That sounds incredibly definite. What makes them so sure? Is there history here?
Oh, absolutely. There's a major Supreme Court case, Afroyim v. Rusk from 1967.
Okay, Afreen v. Rusk, what did that establish?
It ruled very clearly that the government cannot strip citizenship from a naturalized American unless that person voluntarily gives it up.
Voluntarily gives it up. Okay.
Yeah. And historically, denaturalization has only really been used in the most extreme cases. Think like former Nazis who hid their war crimes when they came to the U.S.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking about that level of seriousness, which puts Trump's comment about Musk in a very different light, doesn't it?
Completely different. It means any attempt to actually do this, to denaturalize Musk without that kind of extreme evidence, wouldn't just fail in court.
It would cause chaos.
It would almost certainly trigger a major constitutional crisis, a huge fight over government power and citizenship rights.
So if it's legally a complete non-starter, then why? Why target Musk like this? What's the strategy behind it beyond just reacting to the criticism about the one big beautiful bill?
Right. That's the political puzzle. The bill itself, as we said, hits EVs, helps fossil fuels. That's the policy clash.
Directly impacting Tesla, SpaceX.
For sure. But the why of calling out Musk so personally, so extremely,
Yeah.
that seems deeper.
And didn't you mention something about DOGE, that acronym? There's some irony there.
Yes. That was a fascinating detail from the reports. Trump invoked DOGE, which stands for Department of Government Efficiency,
Okay.
an initiative from Trump's first term that Musk himself actually led for a while.
Wait, Musk led DOGE.
Briefly, yeah. And Trump said, sort of ironically, that DOGE might be unleashed on Musk.
Wow, that's quite a twist, using his own former initiative against him, potentially.
It's definitely a loaded comment, given
Well,
their history.
So, stepping back, what's the bigger political play here for Trump? If it's not about actually deporting him.
Well, you have to think about who he's talking to, right?
Hmm.
Sources suggest a few strategic angles. First, it's a power move, responding forcefully to criticism from a huge global figure like Musk.
Showing he won't be challenged.
Exactly, asserting dominance. Second, it plays to his base. It signals toughness against what some see as, entitled elites getting rich off taxpayer money.
The whole subsidy argument again.
Right. And third, it reinforces his populist image, especially thinking ahead to the 2026 midterms. It's a statement designed to resonate with certain voters, even if it's legally impossible.
So, it's political theater, but with a calculated purpose.
Pretty much. Using the threat itself as the message.
Okay, beyond the politics and the legal side, what about the real-world fallout, the economic stakes? You suggested earlier this isn't just about two famous guys fighting.
No, the ripples could be quite significant.
So how could this chilling effect you mentioned actually play out? What does that look like?
Well, think about the industries involved. EVs, obviously. Tesla relies heavily on consumer tax credits, infrastructure grants. If those are gone or threatened,
Big impact.
huge. Then space exploration. SpaceX has massive contracts with NASA, with the Pentagon. That's taxpayer money, federal budgets.
Vulnerable to political winds.
Absolutely. And even his other ventures, XAI, Neuralink, the solar stuff, they might not be directly targeted by this bill, but could easily face, say, increased regulatory scrutiny, a general feeling of being in the crosshairs.
So the direct hit on EVs and space, potential pressure elsewhere, how does that become a broader economic issue, the chilling effect?
It works on a few levels. First, it could make companies way more hesitant about public-private partnerships. If you think partnering with the government makes you a political target, maybe you don't partner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Less collaboration, less innovation, potentially.
Could be. Second, think about foreign investment. If investors overseas see a high-profile, naturalized U.S. citizen being targeted like this, seemingly arbitrarily, does that make the U.S. look like a stable place to put your money?
Good point. It could create uncertainty.
Definitely. Then there's the simple stock market effect. Musk's companies are huge, publicly traded. This kind of feud creates volatility.
Yeah, Tesla stock often swings wildly on Musk news anyway.
Exactly. And finally, it could push the tech sector itself into factions. You might see other tech leaders feeling forced to pick sides, creating divisions in an industry that, often benefits from working together.
So it's not just Trump versus Musk. It could become a wider rift.
That's a real possibility that the sources highlight.
Okay, but what about the risks for Trump himself? This isn't necessarily a winning move across the board, is it? What's the potential blowback for him?
No, absolutely. It's not risk-free for him either. There's definite potential for backlash from the tech sector.
Losing donors. Support?
Could be. Funding, reputational damage with people who value innovation, who might otherwise support a Republican agenda focused on economic growth.
Okay, what else?
Well, there's the obvious risk of legal overreach. If he actually tried to move against Musk somehow without proper cause, not necessarily deportation, but maybe through regulation or investigation,
It could backfire badly.
hugely.
Yeah.
Legally, politically, it could look like abuse of power. And then electorally, yeah, it might fire up his base, but it can also really alienate independents.
And those Republicans who do like the tech sector.
Exactly. Those innovation-focused Republicans might see this as unstable, erratic, bad for business. So it's a gamble.
Okay, so looking ahead then, based on everything we've seen in the reports, what's the most likely way this plays out? What are the odds on different scenarios?
All right, based on the sources, here's how it seems to stack up. Likelihood of Trump actually trying denaturalization, very low. Courts would stop it. It's just not legally viable.
Right, that seems clear.
Likelihood of increased regulatory pressure on Musk's companies. That's rated medium. Plausible deniability, maybe, using existing agencies.
Okay, what about Musk hitting back?
Also, medium likelihood, Musk retaliating with, say, lawsuits, maybe leaks. He's not exactly known for backing down.
Sure.
A quiet political truce, like brokered behind the scenes. That's seen as low probability right now. Too much public water under the bridge, perhaps.
And the wider tech feud idea.
That's rated high likelihood by several sources. Other tech leaders taking sides, lines being drawn, that seems quite possible.
So wrapping this all up for you listening, what's the real core takeaway here? After digging through all this, what's the bottom line on the Trump-Musk clash?
Well, the immediate takeaway is clear. Trump's deportation threat is legally empty. It's political symbolism, not actual policy possibility.
Okay, but beyond that?
Beyond that, it really highlights this growing tension, doesn't it? This rift between sort of populist politics and the innovation economy, the tech class.
Like two different visions of the future clashing.
Exactly. It shows how political rhetoric can be used as a weapon, even when it has no legal teeth. But it also shows the strength of the legal guardrails we have against arbitrary actions.
So despite the headlines, despite the shock value, Musk is still an American citizen, full stop, with all the rights that come with that.
Absolutely. Full constitutional protections. Any actual attempt to remove him would violate U.S. law, and you'd see massive resistance, institutional, public. The system, for all its flaws, is built to prevent that specific kind of overreach.
It underscores how robust that legal framework is, even under extreme political pressure.
It does. And maybe the thought to leave you with is this. What does this specific, very high-profile fight tell us about how political power and massive technological innovation interact now?
Yeah.
And how might that dynamic, that tension, shape the big debates coming down the road?
Yeah.
About the economy, about individual rights, in a world that's changing incredibly fast.
Something to definitely chew on. About more than just these two individuals, isn't it?
I think it has to be. It feels like a symptom of something larger.